Speaker Mike Johnson and Elon Musk are expected to speak today as the billionaire CEO of Tesla continues to bash the GOP-backed budget bill making its way through Congress. Last night, Musk urged lawmakers to kill the bill. The former head of the Department of Government Efficiency has blasted the tax cut plan for threatening to grow the federal deficit. The bill would also undo electric vehicle tax credits that benefit Musk's company Tesla. And earlier today, President Trump weighed in on Musk's comments, saying he's disappointed.
Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate, because that's billions and billions of dollars.
Now, Musk immediately responded to President Trump's comments in a social media post saying, quote, "False. This bill was never shown to me even once and was passed in the dead of night so fast that almost no one in Congress could even read it." Musk continued his rant on X with a post saying, "Without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate." All right, CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion joins me now. Nikole, what do we know about the conversation between Musk and Speaker Johnson?
Well, we know the two have been kind of engaged in a game of phone tag over these last couple of days. I mean, Speaker Johnson did say that he spoke with Elon Musk earlier this week, and it was shortly after that conversation that we then saw the initial post from Elon Musk when he called this so-called big, beautiful bill a disgusting abomination. And since then, he has been continually posting against the bill, so much so as of late yesterday, he told lawmakers they should kill this bill. And of course, now we see him engaged in this back and forth, even with the president, about who said what. Did he even see the bill? So look, as far as the speaker is concerned, he did acknowledge that he intended to speak with Elon Musk today, that he understands his concerns with respect to the EV mandate. But you have to remember that in the case of the speaker, this was such a carefully crafted bill in terms of really making sure that all factions of his conference were bought in. And so part of the reason those EV mandates were rolled back was that was a request of House conservatives, many of whom were threatening to vote against this package. Now, over here in the Senate, there are some moderate Republicans who have expressed concerns about the scope of some of those clean energy subsidy rollbacks, who don't want them phased in as quickly as the House bill. So again, we'll have to see if the Senate makes any adjustments and whether or not this conversation between the speaker and Musk kind of cools things down.
There's obviously the war of words. There's a lot to follow on this story, but there's also the process of the actual budget getting passed. So what is the next step in the budget process?
Well, I kind of alluded to that in that the Senate now has the baton, if you will. So this is their opportunity over the next couple of weeks to try to put their fingerprints on this package. We obviously saw many Republicans from the Senate Finance Committee meet with the president late yesterday. That is a key meeting that was had because that committee in particular has a lot of sway over the tax portions of this package and the Medicaid components of this package, which we already know in the House bill, it made some cuts to the Medicaid program, most importantly, enacting work requirements. So again, right now, with the ball in the Senate's court, this is the opportunity for senators to try to mold this package in the way that they see fit. There's already talk about potentially rolling back state and local tax deductions, which was also carefully crafted in that House package, in addition to these clean energy provisions, Medicaid, and others. So still a lot of work ahead for this package.
Yep, a major hurdle that this bill faces. Nikole Killion explaining that for us. Nikole, thank you.